Hello everyone. I thought I will come here today and do the Naturally tag. This tag was created by Natalie from Curious Reader and Emma from a Cup of Books. I will put their channels down below and also their original tags and the link to the Springathon, which is a readathon they are running next month, and I will be participating. I think I will put my TBR up next week, but for now I just wanted to do the tag and maybe give some people some ideas on what they can read related to nature writing. So the first question is, what is your favorite nature writing book or author? I don't think I have a nature writing author that I can say, but definitely one of my favorite books last year and one of my favorite books of all time is The Overstory by Richard Powers. I love this book, and it's basically a novel about trees. So it follows, I think it is 12 different characters, and each one of them has a different connection with trees in a different way. At the beginning they are separate stories, but as the book goes on, and these stories connect and create a narrative, and I just loved it. The writing is beautiful, the descriptions of trees are beautiful, what it's trying to do, it's all beautiful, so I highly recommend that. The second question is, recommend a book about plants, and in this one of course The Overstory could work, but I wanted to do something different, and the one I want to recommend is Unbowed by Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai is a Nobel Prize winner, Nobel Peace Prize. She won the prize in 2004 for her defense of nature, basically of the forests in her home country, Kenya. So at the time, colonialism was just over, and the government wanted to basically just take over the forest and create what they call civilization and make plantations and so on. And Wangari Maathai defended the autochthonous trees and also created organizations that could empower women by taking charge of trees and reclaiming their own nature. So it is a very nice story, and Wangari Maathai was an amazing woman, so I really recommend this memoir. The third question is, recommend a book about animals, and well, I have not finished this book yet, but I'm quite a way through, and I'm really loving it, so I'm going to recommend it anyway. And it's The Soul of an Octopus, a surprising exploration into the wonders of consciousness by Cy Montgomery. And this is basically a book that it's a non-fiction book about basically octopuses and how smart they are, and also it talks a little bit about fish and so on, but it's mainly about octopuses, and it has some amazing facts about how they can screw and unscrew things, how they get bored, how they play. And I never knew any of these things about octopuses, and it's fascinating. So I think it's an interesting one if you are into that. The fourth question is to recommend a book about water, and I don't know if this is a bit of a cheat, but I'm choosing The Uninhabitable Earth by David Wallace Wells. I talk a little bit about this in my Booktube Prize video, but this one is basically about climate change, and I think that climate change and water are very connected, because climate change is disrupting a lot of the water cycles, the ice and the oceans, and the fresh water. So I think it's very connected, and it still fits the prompt. And this book is just it goes through all the different scenarios of climate change and how bad it can go at different times. So yeah, I think that this is connected to weather for me, and it's also a book that everyone should read, I think. So I would highly recommend that. And then the fifth prompt was to recommend a book about birds. Now, I didn't have any books about birds that I could recommend. I was going through the books I've read, and I couldn't think about anything. What I could think about, it's a movie. It's called Wing Migration. It's quite an old movie, and actually it took me quite some time to find the English title, because in my language, if you translate, it's called Nomads of the Wind, which I think it's a much more beautiful name, but whatever. And this documentary is basically following different migrating birds in their travels, and I vividly remember this one that it was about, I think it was a goose or a duck or something like that was traveling from the north of the Himalayas to the south of the Himalayas, and they had to cross around the Himalayas, and how tricky and how crazy that was, but at the same time how beautiful it was. So yeah, it's a beautiful film, and I think it is in Netflix, so you can go check it out there. I highly recommend if you're bored these days and you want something to watch. And the last prompt was to recommend a book about travel, and for this one I'm going to recommend The Invention of Nature by Andrea Wolf. And this book is basically following Alexander von Humboldt, which was a scientist, I believe, in the 18th century, who basically explored the wild environments and made connections between the differences and the similarities that he saw around the world. And it even talks about the relations of humans with nature, and how a little bit like climate change even. So it's a beautiful book, and I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. And then the 7th question is, what nature writing book are you most excited about on your TBR? And this has to be The Sixth Extinction by Elizabeth Colbert. I have been wanting to read this for a while now. And this one talks about extinction of animals that is happening because of climate change and because of how we are treating our planet, because of pollution as well, and all the animals that are disappearing. And I think it's going to be very interesting. I have heard good things about it, so I'm really excited about it. Then the 8th question is, what nature writing book are you most excited about that you don't have access to yet? And I have seen this tag made from Emma from a couple of books, and she talked about Lab Girl by Hope Yarn. And as I understand, she's a biologist, and she's just talking about what it means to be a scientist in a field like that, and what it means to be a female scientist in there. And I'm really excited about that too. I don't know when I will be able to get hold of it, but it really sounds amazing. Then the 9th question is, why do you love nature writing? And I think that for me, I like knowledge in general, and I think that it's important to know the nature around us so that we can protect it properly and we can appreciate it properly. Like, for example, now I'm reading this book about octopuses. I had no idea that octopuses were that smart. And it's just amazing, and I love to know things about like that. So yeah, I just think it's very interesting to read about what it surrounds us. Then the 10th question is, describe the nature around where you live. I have to explain a bit here. I live in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands, it's a very artificial country. About half of the land of the country was claimed from the sea for hundreds of years now, which means that it's extremely flat, and it's not very natural. It doesn't have forest, and it only has forest in the south. Around where I live, it's basically just greenhouses and tulip fields and so on, so it's not there's not a lot of nature. Also, there are not a lot of animals because this used to be the sea. So there are mainly just rabbits and a lot of birds. But I would say that I am still lucky enough that we live near the beach and we have the dunes that are relatively natural for Dutch standards. Lots of water just everywhere. There are canals and lakes and the beach. Lots of water around here. Then the 11th question is do a shout out to another channel that reads nature writing. And here I have to mention 2 channels. They are a lot bigger than mine, so you probably know them already, but I'm going to mention just anyway because I like them. The first one is Doris from All the Books. She reads a lot of fiction and non-fiction about nature writing, and her blogs are super funny, so if you want to go check her out, I'll leave the link below. And the other channel that I want to mention is Natalie from My Reading Days, and she's an Australian booktuber, and she lives in this beautiful farm that has amazing nature around, so that already covers some of my itch for nature that I cannot get in the country I live. And also she reads a lot of fiction based on nature. I read The Overstory with her last year. We buddy read that and we both loved it. And she reads a lot of books on that same vein and I love it. So yeah, I hope you check both of them out if you don't know them already. And this is the tag. So yeah, I don't know if I need to tag anybody, but if not, Natalie and Doris, you can do this tag as well. And that is all for me. Thank you for watching. Let me know what's your favorite nature writing and if you have read any of these books. I would love to know. And see you next time. Bye!